Slot Toy Tutorial 3, Rotating Parts. A rule that exists when you do physics, and it's to do with electrical current, is called the right hand rule. If you hold your right hand with a thumb up and you follow that line up and you look at the way that the fingers are curling around, that's the rotation that you're going to get around that line, which is the case of a magnetic field going around a wire. But in our case, when we draw a line in Onshape, we can rotate our parts around that line, and we can figure out which way we're going to draw our line based on the right hand thumb rule. So during this exercise, you're going to have to hold your right hand thumb up or out or in a certain direction to figure out which way you're going to have to draw a line in order to rotate it. Let's look at this by example. So last time in Onshape we were up to Slot Toy version 2. I'm going to right click on that and copy the workspace, and we're going to create version 3. Version 3 we're not going to use, it's just a practice. So let's go into version 3 and see what we do. So version 3, let's look at this. I want to rotate my hip so that it's at 90 degrees to the dinosaur. So if I curl my thumbs the way I want, my fingers, the way that I want it to rotate, then the thumb will point in the direction that I need to draw a line. In my case, that's straight up the screen. So I'm going to draw a sketch, and I'm going to draw it on the front of this particular hip joint here, and I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to make it a nice construction line. I'm going to zoom right up on my hip joint, and I'm going to draw a line that definitely goes straight, and you'll know it's going straight because it turns a little bit orange and it has that little up and down line that appears just down there in that white section. You can see that there. So I'm going to draw that, and that's going to be my rotate for my hip. So I should probably rename this hip rotator 01, because I might do several. So I'm going to press tick on that now. I've got my hip rotator. So now I can use a special tool called the transform tool. I'm going to click on the transform tool. I'm going to choose rotate. The entities, I'm going to click on this blue section here, and I'm going to click on my hip, and I'm going to rotate it around an axis. So I'm going to click on axis to make that blue, and it's going to be this particular axis. Now you can see here that I can now rotate it by dragging this line, and it's going to rotate around that line. So if I put my thumb in the direction of a line, you can see that my fingers are curling around the way it can rotate. In fact, if I hold my hand up on my left hand, that's the way the arrow is going to work. I want to rotate this by 90 degrees exactly, so I'm going to type in 90 here and press enter, and that's going to look good, and press tick. I want to rotate my arms the other way, and you'll notice that the arms are already on a sort of a strange angle, so I need to rotate them sort of along a line this way at this angle. So I'm going to draw a sketch here, and I'm going to draw the sketch on here, and I'm going to draw up my line sort of, I'm going to eyeball it around this way like so, and that's going to be a tricky one, but I'm going to rotate it around that line. So I'm going to use the transform tool. I'm going to change it to rotate. The entity I'm going to transform is my arms, and I'm going to rotate it around the axis. So I'm going to click on axis and click on that line there, and you can now see I'm rotating it around that line, which is pretty funny. But once again, pretty much everything needs to get rotated 90 degrees initially, at least anyway. So if I look at that, that's not right. It's a bit annoying. I'm gonna have to eyeball this. Yeah, I think it's 90 degrees. Yep, it is. It's 90 degrees. That's good. Happy about that. So you see I've got my hip and my body and everything rotated. Let's just say I want to rotate my leg a little bit. So this is really tricky. How do I draw a line out there so that I can rotate it around that line. The easy way to do this is to actually grab a plane, and it's going to be an offset plane, so I'm going to click on that one there, and just so happens that this one lines up perfectly with where I need it to be, but I'm going to drag it so that this line is roughly in the middle of my object, and I'm going to press tick. So now if I look at this from an angle, I have something called plane 4. I'm now going to draw my sketch on plane 4, and it's going to be a line sticking out. Let's look at the right angle to plane 4, and I'm going to draw it, this line here, from about here, out here horizontal, like so, and press tick. And now I'm going to basically rotate this using the rotate tool, translate by rotation, and I'm going to use the axis point here, and the thing I want to transform is that, and now I can actually rotate that leg a little bit, and I'll probably have it like, not too much, more like that, and press tick. So you can see there that that's a bit of a complicated way of doing it, and it's tricky to do. Most people try and avoid doing that type of rotation, and you usually can, but if you need to, you can do it by creating a plane in the middle of your object and create that plane as a normal to that item there, and then draw a line out and do it like that. It's now time for you to go into your project plan and update your journal entry so that you can say that you've done this and how you felt about doing it and any issues that you had. I'm just guessing that you might have had a few issues with this, but the rotation is all good now. All I need to do is start thinking about how I can move parts in and maybe rotate them a little bit more just to get them in the right place.